Good evening, everyone. How are we all? Well, lots of chat already. Yeah, sorry for the small delay. I was just grabbing a drink. Yep, BC5, we'll be doing some modelling today. I've spent the past hour actually getting SketchUp ready because having built a new PC, I've not actually used SketchUp on it yet. So I had to go and install all the plugins and all that usual setup stuff you have to do. Oh, thank you, Delta. So before we get on with it, we've got a key giveaway to do. I think we'll do that before we go ahead and look at what I've been up to within Engine. No, CSI, you'd like to think it was SketchUp without lags. It's actually lagging more than ever with nothing actually turned on, so I think there's a bug there somewhere that I need to fix. Yes, keys first, fun later. So let's do that. So I'm assuming that Claire has already locked the competition channel on Discord. Oh. Yes, indeed, she has locked it. I see her typing. So the last person to put in a key was Quadzy. Let's just make sure that I've got that on here. I apologise for blinding everybody. Oh yeah, one extra there. Okay then, so let's zero out our winning number. So, as far as I'm aware, and please can't talk already. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Claire, but it's going to be 5 full captain tiers, thanks to Firstus and Commander Delta, and then we'll follow up with a couple of just normal keys after that. See, I was listening. Right then, so let's roll our first number. So I think like last time it was between 0 and 10,000. Scroll, 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 scroll. Yeah. Okay. Right, here we go then. So our first number, 10,000. Is, and are you ready, Claire? Are you primed and ready to go? Right, I'm clicking it. Here we go. So our first captain tier goes to 872. And that is Von. Congratulations, Von. I'm going to write that in there. So Claire will be tagging people on the Discord. Let me know when you're ready, Claire, and I'll do the next one. Okay, our next captain tier goes to 8734. And that is Leosh. Congratulations. It's better that Claire does them one at a time. She'll get confused otherwise. And our next one goes to 6339. Master Von. It's funny, similar to the last one. Congratulations, Master Von. Okay, just waiting for Claire to say so. Next one, 8929. And that is Hawk's Blade Veered. Hawk's Blade Veered, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not even going to try and spell that. Congratulations, you have a captain tier. Okay, and our next one, 510. That is Enigma the Phoenix. Congratulations. So that's our 5 captain tiers. Again, thanks to Delta and Firstus for that. The next 2 will just be keys. And the first key goes to 1054. And that is Richard J. Mitchell. Congratulations. And our final one is 56. And that is Kriob. That's as close as I'm going to get to pronouncing that. Kriob. Congratulations on your key. there we go. Congratulations everyone. Enjoy your access to the development builds. Right, so let's get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. As I say, Claire will be getting in touch with all the winners and she'll be handing out your keys, etc, etc. Right then, so what have I been up to? Well, I was testing out various bits and pieces on the sensors, and I found the scanning experience to be a little bit underwhelming, so I thought I would spice it up a little bit. So I'll just load into the game. Oh God. Yeah, Ava does stuff too. No, nothing really new to show, CSI. It's like a bit of skirting board and slightly drier plaster. It didn't really make for a very engaging update, so... And I'll do another dev shed update once we've got something more meaningful to show. Yeah, that was various different lines of Ava all talking at once. So what I have done is, when you scan a star system now, what it will do is it's going to actually do a much more faster and brighter line towards the target. It'll actually go through all the targets whilst it's doing the scan. And also on the long range at the moment, Ava will now start speaking. And it's quite funny because I'm using 11 Labs and it's me doing the talking, and 11 Labs is just, you know, making my voice female. It's also picking up my accent, so Ava's like picked up this Somerset accent, which is kind of funny, which you'll hear now, I expect.
Initiating long-range survey. Long-range survey complete.
So there we go. As it goes through, it actually, you can see on the holo display, it actually goes through all the different targets. If I go back and do a system with slightly more planets. Yeah, it sounds like she's from Bristol. Yes, Firstus, I do want to add some colour to this to indicate where the habitable zone is. You know, we've got it on the holo display. We should also have it here somewhere. I may do the coloured backgrounds by temperature. That could be one way of doing it.
Initiating long-range survey. Long-range survey complete.
It makes me cringe every time I hear it. These temp buttons here are just for testing, so the auto nav basically does all the stuff that you would do over at the helm. So if you were to send a planet to the helm and click auto nav, then it will do all of the usual stuff over there for you. That's just purely for testing purposes. And then the spore drive one will just teleport the ship to the destination. Clue is in the name, they will be deleted before the build goes properly live. So that's just a development testing thing, while we do all our Q&A. Hey, Leosh. Yeah, I've been tempted with different accents and things, but I'll see. We'll try and keep her reasonably generic as much as possible, with maybe some additional voices in the future, including male voices as well. Yes, Paul. Those buttons will make an appearance whilst we're doing testing phases. I'm reluctant to put them in the game proper because, especially once we've got fuel usage and actual dangers out there in the galaxy, it's going to cheese the system to have the ability to just teleport the ship around. That said, if you are starting a game in GM mode, then there will be a GM toolbox where you can do those things as part of the GM toolkit. We had Claire do a voice test the other day, actually. Claire does sound quite Bristolian, but she does have a much better speaking voice than me. So it'll be interesting to see how it comes out with her doing it. Yes, the gamer. The idea is we'll have full body IK. So, what's going on there? Hang on. We've got ourselves a weird flickering ball. So I'm pretty sure that's the imposter sphere that shows up when the star's in the distance. It shouldn't be rendering there like that, so I'll add that to the bug list. Yeah, so full body IK. Like right now I don't have a body, but if I go to the right actually. No, I can't press escape right now because it'll quit, but if you're on the camera mode where you have a body and arms, then when you press a button, it will essentially capture the world location of the button, and then the arm will sort of jut out and press the button. So you'll actually see your character pressing things when you press them. And NPCs as well, of course. Yeah, so right now there are, I think, 30 backer systems in the game. I've heard reports that they're not there when you visit them, so that could just be a bug that we need to have a look at. The database for them is definitely there, so they should be in the game. I think we've had some more added to the spreadsheet since I last updated it, so I'll make sure I update that before the next dev build. Do you mean the defaults on there, Scotty? There's a lot of stars in this location. Okay, so this should be a backer system, I believe. And yeah, there's nothing there. So let me just check. Is it actually on the sensors? No, it's not. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that because the data point, the actual data structure for it is definitely there, and they should be being generated. Yeah, so I'll figure out what's wrong with that. You know what might have happened? It might be the case that the database file didn't copy across. Hang on, let me just do a quick check. Okay, it's there. So this is the backers database, which I can't open. I don't have an SQL viewer right now. But obviously there's the 18 million odd real world stars, and this is all the backer stars. So that's definitely there in the data, and that would have been uploaded to Steam. But as for why it's not rendering, I don't know. Yeah, so the issue...
Long-range survey.
I need to turn auto start off on those audio files. Yeah, so if we go to 000, which of course is Sag A, one, it's going to lag like crazy because we're generating a lot of stars. And two, it's going to look really, really weird because the teleport looks at the approach distance over here, and it tries to work it out based on the radius of the object, but Sag A is so massive that it can't work it out. So we're actually inside the shader that generates the black hole. So we're like literally in the middle of the black hole. However, if we fly out, that should fix itself. There we go. We have escaped. So yeah, so if you teleport to Sag A, then it is going to look weird until you move the ship. Also, as lots of people have pointed out, there's a weird grid-like pattern to the stars here, and that's because of the 1 light year resolution of the galactic space. So what I need to do is basically nudge the coordinates within that 1 light year cube, which will break up this weird line effect that you see here. It's just because there's so many stars, they're so packed together that the 1 light year resolution becomes really apparent. Yeah, I've always said SQL. I've tried in recent years to get into the habit of saying SQL. I was a PHP developer for quite a few years, and throughout all that time I always used to call it SQL because I'm just used to reading acronyms out that way. The game, will you be able to open and read books in the game? Yes, that is one of the plans we have. Like with many things, it will have to wait its turn on the development list, but yeah, at some point, hopefully you'll be able to pick up and read books. Or probably more likely tablets. Will there be a protocol in the game that saves the ship's system actions and where the captain can write in? There will be states, sort of pre-established states that you can enable and disable as required. Things like cold and dark or flight ready. Those will be two states that the captain can choose from. So if they speak to the engineer on the bridge and say set the ship to cold and dark, then that will trigger lots of events on all the NPCs and all the task lists to configure everything in and around engineering to put the ship in a cold and dark state. And that will work in many different scenarios with various different states that we set. Like refueling could be another one. So if the ship has to be in a certain state to allow for refueling, then that will be the state the ship is currently in. And if anything deviates from that state, then the NPCs will go and flip the switches and make sure everything meets the setting. So if you were to run around and turn things off, they turn them back on again, because they try and always have the ship meet the state file that you've selected. Yeah, it's not a bounding box issue for Sat-J. It's too big for the existing calculation, so it's not making a distinction between stellar mass black holes and a supermassive black hole. So if you teleport to a black hole, it will place you a suitable distance away on the assumption that it is a stellar mass black hole. And of course, stellar mass black holes are reasonably tiny. But it does the same thing for Sat-J, assuming it's a stellar mass black hole. But of course, it's, the event horizon is well beyond the range that it puts you, which is why you end up in the middle of it. So really, I need to classify Sat-J as a completely separate class of object, and that will fix that problem.
Initiating long-range survey.
Shush, Ava. Wow, yeah, even at 50 light years, there's a lot of stars here in the middle. Let's move us back to somewhere reasonable. Well, like Earth, for example. That's more like it. So if we go to a system that has a whole bunch of stuff, you'll do. Interesting. How far away are you? Okay, so there's a bug with this in that if the ship is too far away from a star system, then it won't show you how many planets there are around that star, and there'll be nothing here on the orrery map either. And that at the moment is set to 2,000 light years. So you'll have to get within that 2,000 light year range to actually have some idea as to what's around the star. But what it will do in the meantime is it will try and estimate the number of planets that there could be based on working out what the curvature of space-time is around that star and what mass would be required to create that level of curvature, and then deduct the stellar mass from that value, and that the mass that is unaccounted for is the mass that would be taken up by the planets and things. And it can then take the average mass of a planet in the galaxy to work out approximately how many planets are around that star. That's basically how that system's going to work. Yeah, but it is interesting that it is listing it as only... What's that? So it's 8 light years away according to this, but not in reality. So yeah, that's interesting. Save us from the Sajay. Yeah, so the teleport isn't updating the list of targets, which is interesting. Okay. And this is why we're going to have bug fixing week before this build goes out, so all these little rough corners can be smoothed off. Alright, anyway, let's just pop over to this system. You can see this is one we haven't scanned yet. But like with the long range, the medium range will also actually show something on the holo display whilst that scan is happening. Just refreshing YouTube a minute because everything's gone grey. Can everyone still hear me? Yeah, great. Okay. So my browser tab crashed because of all the Sajay shenanigans. Right, so if I do a survey of our medium range, you'll see that the same thing happens, where it's now going to skip through all of the actual bodies in that system, running the scan on each one. There we go. Now we've got level 2 across the board. I also removed the limitation on not being able to do the scan twice, mainly just because I wanted to be able to test it multiple times. But I think I'll leave it that way so that you can rerun a scan if you want to. Right now, that doesn't really give you any new information, but in the future we might have a more dynamic system environment, in which case running another survey will reveal, changes that may have occurred since you were last there, etc., etc. Yeah, sensor glitches, that's another good reason for it. Yeah, things like factions, because I was thinking about how to display that on here. So once you've encountered a faction, or one or more factions within a given sector, we need to reveal information about that faction through your interactions with them. So running a scan isn't necessarily going to tell you everything you need to know. You'll actually have to make contact and work that out for yourself. So it might be the case that they, through that conversation, reveal the extent of their territory, in which case on here we can draw lots of circles around the stars and kind of create a bubble-esque view of their sector of space. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so I think there's value to allowing as many surveys as you want whenever you want. So when we have dynamic content, that then becomes relevant. But anyway, that's enough of that. Let's hop over to SketchUp. Again, apologies for blinding everyone. Yeah, it's still really laggy. Like, if I tilt the camera that way, you can see that it's lovely and smooth. And as soon as I tilt the camera down a bit, it goes all laggy. Which is weird, because there's nothing within range that can make it laggy. And if I zoom out, it's smooth as well. I can go, it's not needed. So this definitely strikes me as bugging rather than a performance issue. But we'll just have to live with it until I figure out what's causing it. Okay, so if we actually load the game proper rather than this test map, and let's go and have a look at engineering and work out what we need to fix. I don't know yet, Delta. This is the first time I've actually loaded it since moving to the new computer, so we will find out. I mean, technically it should be a hell of a lot quicker, but there is that weirdness going on. That's definitely a question for the future, Paul. I mean, eventually all of the UIs will have their own terminal access, so I guess more relevant for engineering. So you'll be able to log into a device remotely and maybe shut breakers on and off remotely from the bridge by using the terminal. I used to work with Cisco routers, so it'll be a similar kind of thing to that. I'm sure something like that, yeah. Lag. That's weird. What's going on here? Yeah, Claire reminded me the other day that the loading screen was very out of date. So yes, that does need fixing. Yeah, that's just a collisions thing. That's easily fixed. Wow, something's not happy. What's going on there? Hi, Rumba. Yeah, that is definitely not normal. Hang on. Let us have a quick look. Oh, that's unhelpful. It's not actually telling me which class is it's generating all that frame time. Which, to be fair, shouldn't be anything. I'm just going to restart the engine a sec. Yeah, an exploding Roomba could be funny. Yeah, I doubt it's anything to do with Ava or anything like that. As with all things, it's bound to be something silly. I wonder whether or not it's actually the label. So what this does is it looks to see where the player is, and it does that on, well, it does it at 30 FPS, but shouldn't be causing that amount of lag. That's just crazy. So essentially all this function does is it does a line trace from the label, its physical location, to the player, and if it can see the player, we're good. If it fails to see the player, then we hide the label. So if I just turn that off a minute, see whether or not that was the problem, because I changed that earlier today. It was that, which is interesting because that shouldn't lag the game that much, just doing a line trace. Yeah, that's weird. I shall have to investigate and see what's going on with that. Right, so we have doors there, got a wall through there which needs cutting out, wall there which needs cutting out, that one's alright, we've got to fix that wall there, that one there, and I think we also have some floor height issues in the cryo room. I also need to sort out the spawning of these props as well, because they're spawning in the air and then dropping. Right, so the floor level here is okay, and then it's, yeah, so the floor level up here is in the wrong place. And again, this is because all the decks have been made much thicker. Well, the space between the decks is thicker, so nothing lines up quite the way it used to. So these ones are literally just some grey boxing I did for the new layout, so I can cut holes in that simply enough. Yes, Tycho, all done in SketchUp. Yes, the gamer, that is the long-term plan. If I hop up to deck a minute. So obviously you have the ability to change the floors here like this, so you can change the materials and things, and you know, change the color of the walls, etc., etc. So you can do surface level customization. I've become quite fond of the black resin. I've added like a slight waviness to the material, so it actually looks more like poured resin now, which is kind of cool looking. Yes, Velvet, definitely. So before the demo update can go live, I need to panel out all these walls here. It's not going to be a huge job. A lot of it is just copy pasting what we've got here. Yeah, it is quite imperial looking, I agree. And yes, each floor eventually will be independently customizable, so you can have a really nice luxurious B deck and a much more utilitarian like D&E deck if you want to. Yeah, this is actually an import error, so where it's imported the object file from SketchUp, for some reason it's created this kind of glitchy face across here. I just need to work out what about the geometry it doesn't like and re-export it. Yeah, so we need to do wall panels for these corridors. We need to do floor panels for those corridors. We need to do the same around here, and I'll probably go out as far as the previous edge, which was out here. And then of course we've got this new area around here, which just needs tidying up more than anything. I'm not going to put a lot of effort into the new areas, which obviously need a lot of work in the background, but they can wait for a future update. Basically, I need what is here now to be sort of feature parity with what's already in the demo, because we don't want anything to be a step backwards. I don't think there's a huge amount different down here, if anything, to be honest. I think mostly it's just height differences between all the different decks. It's like it's now this much taller, but of course that all needs like properly modelling back in again, the right height. And obviously the stairs are no longer the right height, so that needs fixing. I'll probably do those last. These floor tiles here will likely need to be resized to match the ones up top, because everything has a standard layout now. So I've mentioned it before, but everything is in cubes. So you've got the floor is the same width as the wall panel, and here you've got this wall panel is lined up with this wall panel, and all of that forms a segment, and that's going to be needed for things like fire spread and atmosphere aboard the ship. Having this kind of segmented approach means that we can run code on that. But it shouldn't take too long just to knock out some wall panels. The fiddly stuff is the floor and just putting in these braces, and I need to stick in another support brace in there and a couple over there, and it's all the little fiddly bits that need doing. Right, so let's do the D deck bit. Yeah, the lounge floor will be updated to the new system. The walls will have to stay as is for now. Yeah. The stairs will have lights underneath. So the underside of the stairs haven't been modelled yet, because it's a really awkward curve that I need to have a few goes at. But yeah, it will have spotlights underneath to light the stairwell. hopefully all of the floors, including the upper balcony, will be matching with the new system with proper flooring tiles. Right, so this is basically one solid object in engine at the moment, which is why you've got everything all blocked off here. That is weird how it's like silky smooth there and like not there. So weird. Is it you? Let's hide you. Are you my problem? No. So if we get rid of that, yeah, you're right, Delta. I think I'm probably going to do a ceiling light above the balcony. The idea with the balcony is it provided visibility to the rear sections of the ship, so it's more of a like a command staff have a good look at the back of the ship kind of platform. But I think there's more we can do with that. So essentially, when we're building out the middle section of the ship here, these curves either have 5 panels like this, or 6 if there's going to be 2 rooms. So where we've got a separator there to make this into 2 rooms, of course we need 6 panels so that we can put the door in the middle. Whereas here, you can see that we can have a door in the middle and then windows if that wasn't there. But given that this is going to be D-deck and there'll probably all be crew cabins, we need 6 all around. So if we copy this one, delete those there, and we can replace those with these versions. I've been very careful with the new, more accurate template to have the corner pieces, or rather the diagonals, always be the same size. So regardless of which deck it is or what the purpose of it is, it's always going to be the same size and curvature for this particular piece, which means that the gap between those 2 pieces there is the same whether or not there are 6 panels or 5, which means we can interchange these panels really, really easily. So if we copy this one down, make sure we get the correct floor height. And we can make that object unique, make it part of D-deck. And we can get rid of C-deck, turn on D-deck. And then all of that needs to go, not that one. If autosave lets me, of course. Do I have two of those? I do, don't I? Are they the same, is the question. Yeah, so that one needs to be unique. That's weird. That shouldn't be unique, but it's made itself unique, but I can live with that. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Then we just need to grab those. And then copy them around 90 degrees. And that's our panels for there. Yeah. It's been a while since I used SketchUp, so I'm just kind of remembering what I was doing and how I was doing it and why I was doing it. So they should be a consistent object across the board, so we can go ahead and, assuming I still have all the right tools available, just do that, do that. Actually, I don't want to do that. Stuck in the geometry. So I've just remembered what I actually want to do is I want to extrude that the other way and then make rounded edges on it. So if we just make that into a group. I think some of the issues are still there, CNC. It's certainly not perfect. Like right now I've got like this weird lag issue, which I have no idea what's causing it. Like that's fine, that's not fine, but that's fine. But why? Night Owl, I'm working on basically all of the decks, just fixing a lot of the issues that we have with various bits and pieces. Just kind of from re-familiarizing myself with my workflow and how I actually cut these things out in a way that worked nicely. Kind of like, why is it doing that, for example? So we'll have that face. And then we'll extrude that face that way. There we go, that's better. Right, now I can turn this into a cutting tool. Theoretically. That's better. Yeah, so we had to go through all that rigmarole just to get it to do the edges properly. Why is it only done? That's nowhere near enough faces. Why did it only do that many faces? It should have done 8. Oh, that would be why. That's better. Yeah, exactly. There's SketchUp doesn't always create nice geometry. It creates absolute car wrecks, and you have to spend a whole bunch of time fixing it. But when it works nicely. Hey, Mr. Brian, long time no see. Yeah, the YouTube player is behaving weirdly. I need to look into that and find out what's gone wrong with it. It's on the list of things that will be fixed for the demo update. Right, that should be all of the insulation stuff done. Yeah, you're right, actually, Mr. Brian. It wasn't Dawn French, was it? It was the other girl, and I can't remember her name. The blonde one that was like all doolally. Alice, that was it, yeah. Okay, Alice for ship's computer gets my vote. The music is by Lofi Geek. I'm not sure if I linked the channel in the description, but the name's in the description. Lofi Geek does various different live streams which just run 24/7 with lo-fi music. I find it's good for just a nice stream background. Exactly. Alright, my lover. Why don't I use Blender? Two reasons. One is because I'd have to learn Blender, and that's just time away from deving. I've dabbled with Blender, but yeah, I know Blender is a far superior tool for a lot of modelling work. But what I am doing is CAD, and from my experience, Blender's not great at CAD work, especially when it comes to just ease of doing interior design type stuff. Like, if I want a wall which is 3 inches long but 50 centimeters tall, then working between units is really simple. You literally just type it in, and then you can just extrude that face, and bang, you've got the wall you need. So for all the ArchViz stuff I'm doing, I find SketchUp is just really quick and easy to get stuff done. For complex modeling work, then yeah, Blender definitely. Although SketchUp has got all the subdivision tools and everything, and as plugins, so I can do subdivision modeling and quad face modeling within SketchUp if I need to. Yeah, I become frustrated with SketchUp quite often when it comes to large models, because it does suffer from floating point inaccuracies, and Blender loads complex models much more efficiently, and the rendering engine is much quicker and much nicer. Oh, thank you, Mr. Brian. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to need some paint shortly, actually. That's one of the next things that needs to get done. The gamer. So at the moment we have 12 custom ships, which are from backers. So the backers that backed the game on Kickstarter, they are designing those ships, as fully as they can, really. There are going to be technical things which need to be in line with the technology within the game. So things like they will run on electricity, not some sci-fi power source. And what we'll be doing once all 12 of those vessels are done and polished and in the game, then we'll be opening up commissions on a one at a time basis for future custom vessels if people want to invest in that. The walls will be white, but I'll have coloured LEDs in there, so I'm going to use the LED lights to create the colour rather than the paint creating the colour. Painting with light. Right, so I need to export this into a folder structure which doesn't exist. So we need, if we call this one models. Can't quite remember the naming convention I use now. I think I might have just gone with the rings. It might be CSI. I'll have a look in a sec. Shouldn't be. They're very simple geometry. Unless it's the labels, maybe. Thank you, Firstus. I'm sure YouTube appreciate their $6 donation. Might need to change that. I can never remember whether or not we're using swapped coordinates or not. Nope, wasn't that. Let's get rid of some of this junk under here. Oh, wasn't that? Do I just hide absolutely everything? Okay, it was one of those things. Oh no, it wasn't. Interesting. I'll off stream I will try exporting the geometry out as separate files and then re-import them into a new SketchUp file, because it might be that this file has become corrupt in some way. Because actually even with nothing there, it's lagging with nothing on screen. So yeah, so smooth, not smooth. Makes me wonder whether or not it's trying to render things which aren't actually there, like hidden stuff, which would be odd. Yeah, that smells of corrupted to me. Right, anyway, so we've exported that. Yeah, the game's built in Unreal Engine, so if you wanted to attempt something similar, then I would recommend learning Unreal Engine and a piece of modelling software. SketchUp's probably the easiest one to begin with. It's quite intuitive to someone who's new to modelling. Right then, D-Deck, where are you? So I'm going to re-import these with new files. So when I moved computers, I didn't carry across the source files for the model exports. So when I export these as object files, I don't include that in any of the Git backup because it's just a huge amount of models, and it would just bloat the Git profile by probably at least a gig. So yeah, we don't want that. It's not too bad, Tycho. I can just export the models separately as objects into another file. So I'll just create a blank SketchUp file and export each deck separately and then load them in. It's a minor inconvenience, but it's probably the cleanest way of fixing the issue, because I think, yeah, something's got corrupted somewhere. I think the other thing I'll do actually is I'll chop off these bits as well. Okay, so over here, get rid of this bit, be gone. And then we'll replace these sections with their proper framework as well. The beauty of it is they're all going to be the same, so that's just basically copy pasting the same one 3 times, which speeds life up a little bit. Do however need to replace the existing one with this one. Dull. So to answer my earlier question, yes, we need to turn that off. Okay, that frees up that area. I think I already deleted all the existing framework, so I just need to bring in some new pieces. The question is, do we already have some of that there? I'll recreate that. I'm trying to use a much more sensible folder structure for this, because as we're generating more and more and more models, the folders are getting more and more bloated. Yeah, I just call all of them new folder with a number. Okay, so we didn't want that to happen. Basically, what it's done is it's imported all of the sub-objects in that group. And it's imported them as separate objects, which is why I don't use Datasmith, because that's what Datasmith does, and it's quite annoying. Let's try that again. There we go. So combine that. Do not import textures. There we go. Now it's only created one object rather than many. Although I need to reorient that. There we go. Should be the right material. Okay, and it's building nanite, which is good. That one should be weld line. Yeah, that one. We just need to make sure that our collisions aren't doing anything crazy. So with nanite, if you use complex collisions as simple, it uses this nanite fallback mesh for collisions. And most of the time it's alright, but sometimes, like with doorways, you'll get like a single polygon across there which breaks the collisions. That looks okay to me. Hello.
Tea?
Yes, please. I'd love a cup of tea.
I thought your cups.
No, I hid it in the kitchen somewhere.
Okay. Hiya.
She's so lovely. That's true, actually. She never offers anyone else tea. I must be special. Okay, so we now need to do the same thing on E deck. If we get rid of the one that's there. Yeah, we'll get rid of that one. Move that one down. Okay, get rid of that one. Oops. Change where that one is. Thank you.
Welcome. There you
Thank you.
go. Enjoy.
I will enjoy. It's a good question, Scorpio. An ideal team. I think, and this is what we're planning to do, given enough funding anyway. I want a team dedicated to each aspect of each small piece of the game. So, taking the Galaxy, for example, I'd want a team of developers that are responsible purely for building the Galaxy, fleshing the Galaxy out with new content. And that would have to include really talented shader artists, coders that are really good with math, and people with PhDs in astrophysics to make the Galaxy the most accurate it possibly could be, and even push some boundaries in terms of proper simulations of the Milky Way galaxy. And I would then have separate teams dedicated to each area of gameplay. So, like the cooking gameplay would have its own dedicated team, and they'd essentially be building a cooking sim within the game. The same with medical gameplay. We'd have a medical team which would have medical consultants on hand to help shape that medical gameplay. And again, they would work in isolation to build a separate medical sim within the overall package of the game. So in an ideal world, that's exactly what I'd be doing. Have a good one, Delta. And thanks again for backing those Captain giveaways earlier. Very much appreciated. Ouch, just burnt myself then. That tea was really hot. Now, we don't have any age requirements per se for joining the team. What we're looking for is people with strong portfolios and, industry experience. Yep, you raise a good point there, astronauts. And yeah, absolutely, there has to be a balance between technical accuracy and fun. We can't make it too dry. That's a good question, Robert. No is the answer. So there's this one mesh, if I can find it. This one here. If I go into the wall, you can see that nanite is not functioning on this particular static mesh. And I don't know why it's not working on this particular static mesh. I've deleted it, I've re-imported it, in fact the only thing I haven't done is deleted the actual asset from disk, which is kind of the final step in ruling everything out. But yeah, it's just this particular one that won't nanite for some reason. everything else, like on this side, these are all naniting fine. I'm glad you think so. To be honest, perhaps it shows up on stream more than it does kind of in reality, but it feels about the same to me. Obviously, it's going to be quicker. I mean, I've upgraded from a 2080 to a 4090, so of course it's going to be quicker. But yeah, I guess it feels a bit smoother. Right, so that should be all of the floors available on the lift now. Yeah, I'm sure it helps with streaming. Of course, having the 9950X CPU as well is probably really helping with the streaming side of things. Well, that's not supposed to look like that. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting you should say that first, because I hadn't actually taken note of the time difference. That's good to know then. It's a definite improvement. Yeah, they could do with being kind of here really, couldn't they? If we look at the sort of human scale. Yeah, they are a bit low. Kind of need to be a bit more chest height, I think. Reminds me of the light switch that was put into the dev shed. There are new UK building regs where light switches have to be kind of wheelchair accessible. So the light switch was, I guess, height-wise, kind of not really that much higher than that handrail. It's just really weird when you walk into a room, the light switch is all the way down there. So I unscrewed it and moved it myself. So that fixes that. There's still a bit of work to do here because as we come down through the floor level, there's a bit that still sticks out. I need to adjust the tube that the lift is in for that. I've made... Oh yeah, because that bit needs moving as well. As you can see where the doors are kind of not in the track, so that needs that needs fixing to match this one here on B deck. And then we've got a little bit that sticks out there, so that bit needs fixing. But those are just fiddly little things that I'll fix, in the final polish side of things. I shall work on the major blockages for now. Yeah, it's actually quite robust, actually, the lift controls. I was quite pleased with how that came out. You can really mash all the buttons and it doesn't break, which is nice. Right, so this piece of geometry here was an earlier experiment I was doing in having an actual frame within the framework, so that when you join it together it kind of looks like this. But ultimately that proved to be not conducive to having custom wall panels. So by making it non-shaped and just straight, essentially, is going to make it easier in the future to have any shape and style of wall panel there that we want. So we can, over time, add lots and lots of different types of interior feels and paneling. So we could do, like, you know, molded sort of puffy paneling, or we could have a lot more sort of stark steel paneling, and have it all fit the same physical space with the same screw holes. I'm just cherry picking things at the moment, Don. So I fixed the D and E deck lift not being accessible. Again, it's a bit of a bodge right now, but just to make sure that that, you know, there's no blockage in the lift doorway. And I'll do the same here on F deck, where you've got like these doorways here blocked up. Not that there's anything in the room, mind, but we don't want all these bits sticking out through the walls, because if nothing else, they look stupid. So I'm going to have to basically recut these windows. I think one, they're a bit too low for the handrail, and two, these panels are the wrong width. So if we turn on is that the new one? Should be the new one. You can see that the difference in panel size here, they no longer line up, because we're now using a consistent size across the ship, which means that basically this one needs deleting, and then we need to copy these ones down, and then we'll probably use that door frame on here as well. Although interestingly, why have we got two sets of doors? What's going on there? Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that the door here was looking a bit weird, so that should fix that. So if we grab that mesh and just re-import that, that should fix that bit. There we go, that's that done. Much nicer. And yeah, we got the same problem on DDEC as well, so we'll re-export that one. Just make sure that's on the right layer. Yeah, when I put the lift in, I didn't remove the interior walls here from the test layout I was doing for D&E deck. So of course it was blocking the doorways. So I'm just unblocking the doorways now. Much better. And again, at a later date, I shall fix this lip that's coming off crossing the inside. That's part of some old geometry that doesn't need to be there anymore. I've actually scooted the whole lift forward slightly in order to reduce the gap between the doors, because we did have quite a large gap between the two door panels. But now the gap is literally just this, so it's as small as it physically can be. Right, next this one. Actually no, next this one. So these windows are going to be slightly more awkward, I think, because these panels aren't as wide. Actually, let's grab a copy of that. Change its layer. This won't be too bad because this needs to be a 5-panel jobber anyway, which means we can copy across all of this one. So that. No, let me copy all of it. So all of that minus that. Any reference to the middle. Let's pop one of them in. Just pop in a marker in there, and then I know where the middle of the world origin is, so that I can more easily rotate things. Grab that, copy that 90 degrees. Okay, and there's our door, there's our walls. Hey Jim, good to see you. Right, so these 4 need to be unique. So we'll separate those from the rest of the groups. And to be honest, I think these ones need to be 5 wide as well. Yes, we've got a double room here with a central door, and the cryo room's a double room with a central door. And then that was life support, which is also going to be a double room with a central door. So yeah, so all of these need to be 5 wide, which means again we'll take a copy of this one. $90 twice. This is the beauty of building the ship in a circle. It makes so much of this easy. Right, get rid of the door frames. And then we just copy these ones. The radius of the panel. So if we take a reference point there, move it across to the same reference point here. That should all line up. True, a cube would be easier. Okay. Right, and then these ones need to lose that cut that's in there. So we just take a copy of that face, get rid of all of that, paste that back in there, copy that down. Get rid of the sheet in the back there as well. Oh, that's interesting. We've lost our face on that one. To put that back. There we go. Easily fixed. Right, and that's where we'll cut our windows through. Before I cut those windows, I'll just I'll grab a reference to the handrail height so that we're consistently above it. You'll do. I did, Sebastian, yes. was working with, well, in the very beginning, I actually started off building things in Minecraft, and Minecraft was just frustrating after a while because obviously, you know, the cube resolution in Minecraft is a 1 meter cube, and you can't do much in the way of detail with that. So I moved on to SketchUp, and yeah, that's kind of in a roundabout way led me to where I am here. Okay, that's exactly where it needs to be, so that is the height of the handrail, so we can't come any lower than that. Yeah, time is definitely a challenge. I mean, for me, it all started as a hobby, so I was building the Enterprise refit from the Wrath of Khan, and again, I started in Minecraft and gave up on Minecraft because I just couldn't do the detail that I wanted to do. So I experimented with Unreal Engine, using SketchUp as the modelling tool, so I could do like a VR version of it. And yeah, it just grew from there really. So it started off as a hobby, and I guess being a hobby, it's just something I did every evening. Yeah, and then I just went full time in the end. It's taken me about 7 years to get to the point I'm at now. I don't think I've ever seen or tried that. Doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, absolutely, Zalaf. It's my least favourite thing to do. What I tend to do is make a template like this, and then use that as my guide. So it's probably about as high as I'd want to go with it. How high is this one? So that one is 37, which is an oddly arbitrary number. obviously we've got the curve of the panel to think of, so maybe if we bring that down another 5. Obviously the engineering panels will be different to these ones, but it's good to have it's good to make it flexible so that we don't necessarily need to use the engineering panels. We can have different shaped panels and still have windows that fit. Right, so if we go maybe 2 inches above the handrail, that gives us room to do our usual ball panel layers. And then how tall is that? Okay, so if I move that down 7.5, that will make it exactly 110. So in actual fact, the windows will be bigger than the existing ones. Should be fine. Just thinking about cable routing, because cables will need to be routed down these cavities here. Yeah, there's still a few old builds knocking about. I'm still gutted that the latest VR build available had Christmas hats, and all the NPCs were wearing Christmas hats. And the C&D came before we ever had a chance to re-release that without the Christmas hats. So now it's stuck forever with all the NPCs wearing Christmas hats. Actually, before I do that, let's round those edges. Make these ones a little bit smoother compared to the last ones. Yes, SketchUp, that's obviously exactly what I wanted you to do. Too rounded, maybe. I think I'm preferring the less rounded edges. It's a bit too portholey. Maybe we'll go with half that. Reasonable. Right, I reckon that will do us. So if we explode that and then intersect that with all that lot. So I need to be careful here to preserve some of these faces because they'll be needed for the actual glass. Obviously we've got a curved face with additional geometry, so we don't want to lose that. Okay, so that and that. Yeah, that's going to be our glass. So if we reverse those, and then group them up. I'm going to have to export the glass out as a separate object because because of nanite, we can't have transparency in any of these meshes. Such is the limitation of nanite. Right, so if we select that loop there, and we should, if I've done everything properly, be able to copy that across. Which it doesn't look like I did. No, that definitely isn't facing forward. Although it should be according to this. Oh, wait, I know what I've done. So when cutting a window into a curved surface like this, there's kind of two choices. Either you taper it inward to match the curve, or you go straight and obviously have the inside a different width away from the edge than the outside, because it would be going straight. Straight is easier, but curved looks better. So what I actually need to do is I need to create a couple of cutting planes. So if I extrude out some curves here and slice them through, that will give me the inner track that I need. Thanks, Zelaf. Have a good one. If I grab that and that. Okay. And then we want to go from the inside edge. We need to extrude that by 2.5 centimeters, which also happens to be about an inch. Right, let me take a copy of those, delete the rest, paste them back in. Right, and then these have to very neatly cut through the window frame. Okay. And now the bit that always goes wrong is we need to do a weird curvy extrude on this, so that needs to come down about 2 centimeters. I think that one went all right. Okay, on to the next one. Now the Orville project's actually still going strong. So what happened was that I started off working on the Enterprise refit as a hobby. That was just my personal hobby project. And I was sharing what I was doing on the Trek BBS forum. And I was approached by one of the guys on there who actually worked with Stage 9. And they suggested that I get in touch with Rob, who created Stage 9, and offer my services. So I did, and he liked what I was doing, so I joined the Stage 9 team and started working on mostly corridor tools, so tools for drawing corridors along splines, and eventually I had a whole deck to myself on the 1701D to model out. I think it was deck 11, if memory serves. So yeah, I was busily working away on that alongside my Enterprise refit. And then I think it was about 6 months later, literally like 2 weeks before we were due to release a public build of Stage 9, CBS got in touch and told us that was it. We had gotten too big and too popular, and we'd tread on too many toes and had to shut the project down. So we immediately pivoted and approached Fuzzy Door Productions, who made the Orville, and had a very nice chat with them, showed them what we did with Stage 9, and said, would you like us to do something for you for the Orville, which would be great, free marketing. We're not asking for any money, and we won't be charging for it. It will be free for the fans, literally just free publicity for the Orville. And they said, okay, yeah, on the condition that we do not profit from it in any way, go ahead. So we did. So we kind of went forth with their blessing, and the Orville is still being produced today. But I wanted to go ahead and work on this project. So after working on the Orville for about 2 years, I decided that that the game idea that I've been working on in the back of my mind for years and years and years was just the desire to make it was just growing and growing. So I went my separate ways, and I'm now making this. Our Q&A guy, Scotty, still does Q&A for the Orville as well. So we're still Orville adjacent, we still keep in touch with those guys. We parted on good terms. Yeah, exactly. The cool thing with, I'd say most of the Orville devs, they all got picked up by the Roddenberry archive, and they're now working on that. So normally I'd chamfer these edges, but I'm going to wait for a minute before I do that. I'm going to make sure I get the edges right, because I'm probably going to do similar to how I did it on this doorway here. So where I've done this kind of shaped edge like this, I might actually go ahead and do it the same way on the windows as well, but we shall see. In CBS's defense, I don't think they had a lot of choice in the matter, because you had Bridge Crew that was like actively being marketed at the same time, and we were producing a free VR Star Trek exploration, which was exactly what Bridge Crew was trying to be. And they had an exclusive license for a VR Star Trek game. They owned an exclusive license. There's nothing we can do about that. We were completely unlicensed and just doing it as a hobby project. So it's no surprise that we got the C&D. CBS had no choice but to enforce that. Ironically, Bridge Crew's not even being developed or supported anymore. Yeah, I think having the VR on stage 9 is definitely what tripped us up and fell foul of that exclusive license that that Bridge Crew had. But we offered to remove it. We said, if VR is a sticking point, we will remove VR, and just carry on as a non-VR fan project, which is, ultimately all it was. It was just a fan project. But they just kept saying, no, not willing to make any concessions or having any discussion about it. You will stop, and that's the end of it. So it's a shame. It's a shame they weren't even willing to discuss it, to be honest. But we had a very, very different experience with Fuzzy Door. Fuzzy Door welcomed us with open arms. Completely opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah, exactly, Nick. I love Star Wars and many other sci-fis as well. In fact, I would say that if the new Star Trek series had been done with as much care, attention, and love as the new Star Wars series, like The Mandalorian and the rest of them, then the whole thing would have been much more popular. I think what Jon Favreau did with Star Wars is just the ultimate fan service. I think he did an amazing job. Yeah, custom ship states is definitely something I'd like to explore. I think the way we would have to handle that is we would have to have the ship in a state and then just add the ability to save that state as is. So there would be a button which basically says, save state, and then you could attach a name to that state. So if you had the reactor fully powered, all the shields up and the weapons charged, you could then save that as a named state, say like weapons hot or something, and then set the ship to that condition in the future. I think that's probably the way we'd handle it. Octagon, yes, we are hiring. We're looking for a shader artist with a particular specialty in volumetrics, because we have a lot of volumetric effects that we need to do for the galaxy, not least of which volumetric cloud layers on gas giants that the ship needs to fly through when refueling. We're also looking for someone to build a new character system using Unreal's new motion matching. So specifically those two things, but we'd also take on a couple of Unreal generalists. They had the right amount of experience and the right portfolio. Yeah, well, the character system we've got was never intended to be permanent, and it's just one of those things which has just stuck with it all these years, because we've just been working on other things. But what we need is a system where, one, it supports variable gravity direction, because that's going to be important for things like walking around on asteroids and such, and being able to walk underneath the under hull of the ship, walk around on it upside down, that sort of thing. And the new motion matching system that's been added to Unreal 5 is really, really good. So if we can combine a movement component which supports variable gravity with motion matching for things like foot locking and proper animations, then that would be ideal. And it's not a small system that would need to be made, but ultimately it would be the best solution for this game. Yeah, sure thing, Octagon. If you look up Fleet Yard Studios, you should see us there. Claire's the best person to speak to. She usually deals with recruitment and that sort of thing. I have to stress, though, we're looking for people that have an existing portfolio. We need to see some examples of quality work that people have done in the past. Yes, Scorpio, because we'll be using metahumans again. We stopped using them in favour of character creator. But yeah, we'll switch back to metahumans, and they've got really good facial rigs. We'll just use Git, Don. So each developer would check out their own branch, and then it'll be up to me to merge those branches, when doing a build. Yes, Anasi. So the idea is that the shields will be 100% the whole time, as long as the capacitors have charge. So rather than the shields losing effectiveness as you take hits, the capacitor will be drained as you take hits. So they'll go from fully working to not working at all once that capacitor is drained. So the more energy you can fire into that capacitor, the longer the shields will stay up. Is that a question for me, Jeffrey? In which case, no, I do not. Yeah, exactly, and see you can channel that power, where it needs to go. Basically, yeah, although I wouldn't call myself a pro. I just muddle through for the most part. Okay, that's great, Octagon, thank you. Exactly that. Just keep hitting it with the hammer until it does what you want it to do. Thank you, Eric. Exactly, it's called a technician's tap. Yep. The worst noise I've ever heard in my life was when I thumped a hard drive because it wouldn't spin up, and it made this like noise. It's like this horrible metal on metal, like head grinding with platter noise, and that like hurt me to my soul. Quite a lot, including my original like personal mod of what was it called? Back in the 90s, there was Carmageddon, like the racing game Carmageddon. I back when I was a modder and I was into modding, I modded all the cars and made them crash more realistically, and they had like proper deformation and crumple zones, and I went through like lots of calculations with bodywork friction on different surfaces, and yeah, all of that got lost with that hard drive, which was quite gutting. Wow, that hard drive is a champ. Welcome back, Delta. Yeah, it is a bit. Hang on. There you go. There's some kind of a floor. Of course, these are double height rooms, so they don't actually have floors. Me too, Delta. Me too. Okay, that should have fixed some of the protrusions. So if we turn the wall panels on. Yeah, so we're just dealing with the door and window frames now. At least all the walls are no longer having bits sticking out of them. Yeah, I concur. Babylon 5. have to move this window up a bit by the looks of things. Okay, so yeah, lift that one up and cut these at the same height. These panels are going to have to go. In fact, all of these panels are going to have to go. As are these ones. It's going to be slightly awkward in this corner actually, because we need 50 centimeters worth of clearance on every curve. So with this panel coming through here, I'm going to have to make, I mean, I can keep the window the same size there. I'm going to have like a shorter panel this side, which means this panel can't be the same as this panel, which means that does need to have an extra custom panel made to fit, which is a shame, but can't be helped. Yeah, and these curved pieces will need redoing as well, so they're a bit short now with the new layout. Yeah, the idea of the windows is that this is going to be the engineering control room here, and you'll be able to see all the way through into the reactor room from inside the control room. So, you know, although you're not in the reactor room, you can still see what's going on in the reactor room directly. So we definitely need that cross visibility through there. Also need to build this door frame through there as well. I think we've actually got one of our crazy double door panels there. Or do we? Oh no, it's just a door frame. Okay. Yeah, there's been a ton of changes really. I mean, a lot of the changes aren't immediately visible. So, you know, the ship interior looks, you know, pretty much the same. The B deck's been fleshed out quite a bit, but most of it's the same. Obviously, there's a honking great ring around it now, which it didn't have before. But yeah, most of the work's been on the Galaxy side of things. So the sensors have been completely overhauled. Whole new UI, whole new system, and you can actually scan, or rather you can explore star systems now, scan the individual objects within that system, and it saves what you've scanned and where you've been, so you can now actually record your journey and scan things up to 100%, which is the beginnings of what will be the exploration gameplay. That aside, there are about 18 million new stars, which is the real-world Gaia catalogue, and just lots and lots of changes under the hood. The engineering deck as a whole CSI is going to be access controlled, so there will be a security desk here, and the two main ways down are either by the stairs or the lift. There is actually where's the back of the ship gone? There's another way here through the cargo hold, but generally speaking, your main way into F-Tech is through this security desk, so no one should be going anywhere near this control room unless they really need to be there. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, it's nice that you can do it in multiplayer as well and work as a team, starting the ship up. And as we flesh out the engineering gameplay and add more, especially when we add things like damage, having players running around fixing things is going to be really cool working as a team. Hopefully they'll learn a bit of astrophysics as well while they're at it. Ooh, what percentage is complete? I would say, in terms of polished, you're probably looking at about 10 to 15% of the ship. Because the bulk of the ship is, if I turn on the template a sec, is this. So, we've got the middle section reasonably fleshed out, certainly on like A and B deck, and mostly F Tech I suppose is reasonably well fleshed out, but the whole rest of the ship needs a full interior with full modelling and nice lighting and nice wall panels and pot plants. All the crew quarters need decorating and all being unique from one another, so there's a tremendous amount of work to finish the ship interior. So I don't think we're any further than 10 to 15% on that. The other stuff, however, we're definitely making headway on. Yeah, and towels. Yeah, I guess the lower decks is your F and your G deck. There will be a lower deck though with the new ring, because of course you've got the ring section that goes down the middle there, but that's mostly just going to be banks of capacitors in the stairwell. Purely just hardware. Yeah, the FTL coils did used to spin, and the jury was out as to whether or not it was causing performance issues. I think for this ship, it would be nice if they span. I think we could definitely make some cool effects with them spinning. No worries, Jim. Have a good one. Thanks for watching, as always. Yeah, well, underneath, I've got some of it here actually. So underneath GDEC, it's going to come down like this. So you'll have the gas collection hardware on the underside here. So when you fly the ship into a gas giant, you'll open up all the vents and things here, and all the fuel tanks will be behind all those vents. So the tanks, the pump hardware, it's all going to be moved down into this neck section. But all of the rest of it is just going to be like bank after bank of capacitors with like visible heat sinks on the outside. So like that. In this precise second, the focus is getting this current patch cycle finished and polished and ready for a demo update. That's going to include this new ship model, the further fleshed out galaxy, the new sensors gameplay, and the beginnings of the life calculations across the galaxy. So you'll start to see whether or not planets have life on them or not, and some details about that life. And once that's done, the next patch cycle is going to focus on on the bridge gameplay. So we'll have an NPC helmsman that you can turn on and off, and an NPC scientist for the sensor station that you can turn on and off as needed. And you'll be able to essentially act as the captain and issue commands to them, and that's basically us working on the very beginnings of the NPC interaction gameplay and the whole kind of bridge crew side of things. After that, we'll be working on the sublight flight model, and the ability for the ship to interact with things physically in the galaxy, like bumping into rocks and flying into planets and that sort of thing. And we'll also implement wormholes while we're at it, because they require sublight flight to be able to work properly. And then we'll have wormholes all over the galaxy, taking you on adventures. So that's what's in the immediate future. And then I imagine after that we'll probably start having a look at some planetary landing side of things. So we'll start generating planetary surfaces, and at least to begin with we'll just teleport players down. Obviously the long-term goal there is to implement shuttles and actually require you to fly down. Yeah, that's a good idea, Scorpio, especially if we do it as like a schematic. That would be really cool. Yeah, good question first. Orbits is going to be quite a challenge. There's a lot of moving parts that need to come together to do that. I think once we've got the sublight flight model working and the ship is able to fly around and collide with things, then we'll start looking at moving bigger things like planets around. Yeah, the whole large language model powering the NPCs thing, needs to be local and lightweight and running within the client, and not something which is going to destroy the GPU. So we're probably looking at like a 1 billion parameter model that's running locally. It needs to be running within the client. We don't want anything that's going to require an external connection. Oh, that first test. Yeah, I think that, yeah, we can do that when we do the sublight, absolutely. Because that's just a case of, dragging the ship along a spline. So, yeah, we'll definitely tackle that one. Well, the NPCs don't need to have any complex reasoning abilities. They just need to be able to hold a conversation. So, we don't need a really sophisticated language model like GPT. That's kind of overkill for what we would need. We literally just need the NPCs to be able to converse in a lifelike way. And I've looked at this before, and it's easy enough to feed them information such as what's outside of the window, and you'll be able to ask them, hey, what do you think of that thing outside of the window, and they'll be able to talk to you about it because we've told them in the background what that thing is. So little things like that would really make the inter NPC relationships on this ship really, really deep and engaging. But the thing to remember is that every time you want an NPC to respond, then it has to do the hard work in the background on the GPU to generate that response. And these language models take up a lot of VRAM and really hit the GPU hard when they're running. So, as cool as it would be, like tech-wise, we're still maybe not quite there yet, but it is something we're keeping an eye on. I can just imagine asking an NPC in engineering via a large language model to take a message up to the bridge and relay that message. You can guarantee that the message that reaches the bridge will be nothing like the one you told it. I guess that's the biggest takeaway I found from AI and language models and anything of that ilk is that they are incredibly impressive, but also incredibly imprecise. If you try and get, like, say, Midjourney, for example, if you try and get Midjourney to generate something specific, and I mean like really specific, it just, you could be writing prompts all day long. You can't get it to get the exact thing you're looking for. If you say, give me a pretty picture of a mountain, it will give you this incredible vista of a mountain. But once you start to really try and get something precise out of it, it just can't do it. Hey, Solin. Well, fun enough, I'm going to be wrapping the stream up in a sec, actually, because I've just realised we've been streaming for a little over 3 hours now, and it's almost 11:30 here in the UK. You'll find that the streams tend to bounce between just chatting about stuff to me ignoring chat because I'm focusing on something. It's been more of a chatty one this evening. We've got quite a large German community, actually. I think, aside from the UK and the US, I think, as far as our metrics go, I think Germany is definitely the third biggest in our player base. Yeah, sure thing, Delta. I don't think there's anything necessarily broken at the moment, so what I'll do is I'll give this a quick tidy up, and then I'll stick it out as a build. Yes, Anasi, definitely. Well, at least I'll be done with the bits that I need to do for the demo. So if you look at the current public demo as it is, I don't want the demo update that we put out soon to be in any way less than what's there in the current public demo. Now, obviously, I've had to completely tear the ship apart in order to make it bigger and give it a new shape. So in terms of what's there with flooring and wall panels and how much lighting there is, it needs to be at least that, and then I'll be comfortable putting that out. All the new areas, I think they can just be grey box for now. The next demo update after this one is not going to take anywhere near as long, because we're not pulling things apart as much as we have for this update. So yeah, really it's just a case of fixing the stairs around engineering, redoing the wall panels around engineering so they fit the new framework, and that's pretty much it really. Just tidying up the interior, making sure the doors work, that sort of thing. So I'm hoping the modelling work isn't going to take much longer than 2 weeks, because I really want to spend the remaining time working on all the life gen code. So that's looking at planetary atmospheres, oceans, air pressure, oxygen saturations, that sort of thing, and do all the calculations for what life is there and how old is it and that sort of thing. Because if we're aiming for a December demo update, which at the moment we are, we need to spend at least a couple of weeks bug fixing and making sure everything works properly in multiplayer, and all the QA work that needs to happen ahead of a release. So I would say 2 weeks for the modeling, maybe another 2 to 3 weeks for the life gen stuff, and then a remaining couple of weeks purely focusing on nothing but bug fixing. So no more features, just pure bug fixing work, and that will take us up to, I would say, maybe a Christmas Eve release, but we shall see. Yeah, Claire has told me repeatedly that she will disown me if it's not done by Christmas, so that is the line in the sand. Yeah, and the maintenance tunnels as well. I don't know about usable beds, Delta, but certainly beds with proper lighting and maybe even a duvet and some pillows. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. But yeah, so for the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks worth of streams, it's going to be pure modelling work, and hopefully if I can get that done ahead of time, which would be very unlike me, that just gives us more time to work on the life side of things. Yeah, and the tutorials, that's a good point actually. The scanning and navigation tutorial needs a complete re-record, because obviously all the whole UI is completely different now. Okay then, so let's leave it there, shall we? So I shall So thank you to everyone for watching the stream and bearing with me while I witter away in the background. Congratulations to all our winners who won the keys at the beginning of the stream. And yeah, I hope you have a good week ahead, and I shall catch you at 8 PM UTC on Wednesday's stream. So have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.